It's time for another episode of MoState Update, the official podcast of Missouri State Athletics. Here are your hosts, Corey Riggs, and the voice of the Bears, Art Haynes.
Welcome to this edition of MoState Update. I'm Art Haynes along with Corey Riggs, and we'll be talking during the next few minutes about all things Missouri State sports. Starting with baseball, which remains in first place in the Missouri Valley Conference with 6 games to go. Tuesday night, though, of this week, they suffered a defeat at the hands of Central Florida out of the Big 12. Corey, it was a nice, tight 3-2 game going into the 8th inning, and then the Knights got 5 in the 8th and 5 in the 9th.
Yeah, it was. I think the first 7 innings is what you've expected out of this Missouri State team. They will compete with anybody. That was the 3rd Big 12 opponent they faced this year. They had split with the previous 2, Kansas State and Oklahoma State. But tip your cap to UCF. That's one of the best batting lineups 1 through 9 that I've seen all year. They hit above 300 as a team. As a team pitching staff, they have below a 5 ERA. That's unheard of. Nowadays, there's definitely nobody in the Valley that can tout that. So it was a really quality team that came in. The Bears let it get away, utilizing maybe some arms that you don't see as often on the weekend. But, hey, how about the start by Curry Sutherland last night?
Yeah, he was outstanding. Got the start, his first of his career, went 3 innings, gave up a bunt single and no runs. And that was very encouraging, looking forward to the end of the season.
Yeah, when it comes down to the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, that'll be contested at Illinois State, where the Bears just were and took 2 of 3 on their weekend series. But that's a tournament where if you want that automatic qualifier to the road to Omaha, you got to win 4 games in 4 days. It means you got to find 4 guys to start, because what is 100% certain in college baseball anymore is you can't give the ball to a guy on Tuesday or Wednesday and think he's going to start on Friday or Saturday. I think those days are kind of behind us anymore. So now Curry Sutherland, along with Owen Slater, give the Bears that game 4 option to have another starter after Michael Usipchuk, after Tyler Charlton, and of course after Jason Schaaf, the 3-man rotation the Bears have been using on the weekends.
Yeah, Usipchuk got into last night's game for an inning, and Jason Schaaf now will throw Friday. The Bears have their final home games of the season this weekend against Indiana State. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon on Mother's Day.
Yep, 6:30 Friday night, a unique 6:30 Saturday night game. That's Lebanon night. So if you've got a fake blonde wig and want to wear it for Zach Stewart for Lebanon night, I would recommend it. And then Sunday is Senior Day, Springfield Alumni Day, and of course, as Art mentioned, Mother's Day. So a lot to come out and see and do and be a part of at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
The softball Bears really finished the regular season strong. They swept Drake on the road to close it out. They're the number 5 seed for the conference tournament, which starts today in, where is it?
Des Moines.
Des Moines.
In Des Moines. So softball, Art, hasn't come home.
Yeah.
They went and swept Des Moines, stayed there because Coach Griffith was a coach at Drake before her time at Missouri State, after Holly Hesse hired her away from the Bulldogs to be the heir apparent here. She's got family up there, so the softball team and the coaching staff staying up there. They start play today. Missouri State is the number 5 seed in the Valley Softball Tournament. They will take on the 12-seeded University of Illinois Chicago Flames. That game scheduled, I believe, for a 1 o'clock start this afternoon. But the Bears, after just a rough start with a rugged non-conference schedule, end up going 16-11 in league play in Coach Griffith's first year. I think that's a very good number, and they've got an opportunity to keep playing here over the week and the weekend.
Indeed they do. So that tournament again in Des Moines going on right now the rest of the week. Softball did have 3 student-athletes honored with the All-Missouri Valley Conference accolades.
Yeah, Mackenzie Vaughn, who we've talked about, the new home run queen of Missouri State softball.
We've had her on the show.
Had her on the show. She was a Valley All-Conference first-team selection. Alexis Perales, Missouri Valley Conference second-team honors, and then Emily Garrity named the Missouri Valley Conference all-defensive team. So congratulations to all three of those Bears as they get their individual honors leading into the conference tournament that starts today.
And Mackenzie Vaughn set the all-time career home run record this year at Missouri State with 32.
Yep. It was she was big both as a hitter and in the circle for Missouri State all season long. And if they're going to have any success in the Valley Tournament, she's going to have to keep that performance up over the course of this week.
Track and field Bears have a home tournament on Thursday, home meet, I should say. We'll have Coach Jordan Fife on the show to talk about that. But they competed in the SMU Invitational last weekend in Dallas and had some excellent performances.
Yeah, how about in the 3,000-meter steeplechase? And obviously that was an event that was made really popular here in Southwest Missouri by having a former Nixa track star compete in the Olympics and on the world stage in that. But Ella Kronhart won her third event of the season with a personal record of 10 minutes, 43.98 seconds. There were 5 Bears, Art, that were in that 3,000-meter steeplechase, and they took the top 5 spots.
Yeah.
So a really good run in that event. On top of that, the Bears secured 23 total personal records during the one-day meet, and, they have that. They do well at SMU. They come home. They'll host their event this week, and then it'll be on to the Missouri Valley Conference Outdoor Championship as well.
So the MSU Twilight Meet starts Thursday. The throwing events at Parkview still don't have the throwing facilities on campus, but all the rest will be at the Allison South Stadium beginning at 4 o'clock on Thursday.
We'll have to ask Coach, how many of the makeup of his team actually take part in the field events. It seems like you and I've been talking about this. They seem to really excel in the short distance, the long distance running. So we'll find out from him, how many field athletes he has on top of the track side of it. Meanwhile, in men's basketball, Conzo Martin got himself a new 6'4" transfer guard, and Kobe Williams, he'll be on the Bears roster next season. Already had a good run at Truman State. He averaged a team-high 14.5 points per game for the Bulldogs. As a sophomore, he started all 29 games, pulled down 5 rebounds, and I know you'll love this. He shot 84.8% at the free throw line, and honestly, there was times this year where the Bears could use a reliable man at the free throw line.
Well, and Drake certainly proved this year, and Indiana State before that you can win at the Division I level with Division II guys. There's some great players in Division II. Bears got another one, Tyreek Brooks from Missouri Southern.
Yep, you get Tyreek Brooks. You add that to the Truman State standout. Kobe Williams was an all-GLVC second-teamer this year in high school, Art. He was Missouri's Class 5 Player of the Year. He was the St. Louis Metro Player of the Year. He was a product of Westminster Christian Academy in St. Louis. His senior year, he averaged like 24 points a game. So it'll be exciting to see him added to a team with a roster that's got a lot of turnover. And by the time we get done with baseball and start looking to football and basketball, there are going to be a lot of new names to learn on that side of the court.
Yeah, last year basketball had 1 returning player. This year they got 3.
Yep.
So got a little bit of a foothold there for returning players, but mostly transfers again, and hopefully a talent upgrade and a 1-loss record upgrade.
Yep, a team that will return Logan Epps, Big Mike, Michael Osei Bonsu, and then the freshman from Lawrence, Kansas, Zaxton King, the 3 returning Bears. And then one other headline for you. It's that time of year with graduation going on. The APR scores have been released by the NCAA. And as a department, Missouri State's single-year average for all sports was 989. A perfect score is 1,000.
Yeah.
So that's a really good score for the department. 930 is kind of that minimum line. The only team that's had issues with that as of late has been football, but Missouri State football put up their highest score in program history this year. So that number is on the rise for them. It was the NCAA that determined that 930 score is kind of the standard. But, half of that score, Art, is based on graduation rates for teams. And I just don't know that you can hold a gun to athletic departments like that anymore with the changes that you've allowed, especially with the transfer portal.
Yeah, with guys moving around from year to year, it's hard, like you say, to hold them accountable for someone's movements after they've left you.
Yeah, but you're kind of on the hook. If they come here and play for you for a year, they go to another program and they wash out, they don't graduate, that stuff is held against you. So it makes it difficult to improve that score. And obviously football, just in general, also harder because it's the largest team on any campus.
Sure.
It doesn't matter, Missouri State, Mizzou, whoever. You got 100+ guys out there. Not everybody is going to make it to class, and not everybody's going to stick around for 4 years. So.
This week on MoState Update, we'll visit with head baseball coach Joey Hawkins and with Jordan Fife, who heads up the women's track and cross-country programs. All that coming your way as we continue on MoState Update. Welcome back to MoState Update. Our first guest is Jordan Fife, the coach of women's track and cross country at Missouri State. They are hosting a meet on Thursday of this week, but coming off a good performance at the SMU Invitational last weekend. Coach, we appreciate you being on with us, and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the steeplechase is pretty impressive.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you guys having me on again. It's always nice to talk track and field and talk about the accomplishments of the young ladies that have been working hard this year. And the steeplechase is an event that we've just really taken a leap of faith, no pun intended, into this spring with a couple of our athletes, and I think it's really going to pay off come conference time here in a couple of weeks.
Who were some of the others that had PRs at the SMU meet?
Yeah, we've got our jumps crew's been doing really well lately. Malia Clark, Jenna Belcher, they've been jumping really well, long jump and triple jump. Camden Moody, who's our heptathlete, actually set a personal best in both the high jump and the long jump, so she's rounding into great shape right now heading into the conference meet. And some of the other events that we had, Tabby Fox in the 1500, Olivia Rogers in the 100 and 200. I think there were probably 22 or 23 people on the team who walked away with lifetime bests this past weekend.
I wanted to ask you, Coach, about the steeplechase before we get away from it. Obviously, in Springfield, I feel like that event has gained a lot of notoriety because of the Olympics, because of the young lady from Nixa that competed. Is that a fairly newer track event, or is that older than maybe I think it is? Because for people that don't understand, 3,000 meters running inside the track, but also jumping over barriers into water. It's almost like an obstacle course for track and field.
Yeah, it's the funnest event in track and field. It was my specialty when I was an athlete at Indiana State, and so I've just really maybe not giving myself enough credit with my knowledge of that event with our own athletes. And this year I decided we were just going to really kind of launch into that, looking at what Conference USA looks like and where the biggest holes are in different events. The steeplechase is a really wide open event, and so I think for us to come in year one next year and try to capitalize on that event, we needed to start that now. And so the popularity, it wasn't a women's event in the NCAA until I want to say 2001 or 2002. That was the first year, and so it's a very new event, relatively speaking, within women's track and field still. But yeah, it's something we just haven't put tons of focus on in the past. We did have a national qualifier one of my first few years here with Grace Brighton in the steeplechase, and we just kind of haven't been back since. So we're ready to do that.
What was the competition like in the Dallas meet?
It was good. SMU obviously has a really, really good program. Other than that, there were a handful of athletes from, Oklahoma State, a couple other Division I schools, and then, quite a few smaller schools. But, when you can get, really nice weather this time of year when people are really rounding into shape, lots of good things happen.
You've historically been strong in the running events, but sounds like the field events are really picking up.
Yeah, we've got some young jumpers. Like I said, a heptathlete that's going to score well. Hopefully, our javelin throwers. That's a big event for us as well. It's probably our deepest event, the event that we're slated to score the most points in at the conference championship a week from this weekend. That one, I think. Not a lot of states have javelin in high school, and so because Missouri adopted the javelin a few years ago, we've just had more of a pipeline to javelin throwers and just the experience that comes with that. And so, we have currently 4 people sitting in the top 8 in the conference in the javelin right now, and so it's an event we definitely want to keep working on.
So I know the throwing events at your meet on Thursday are going to be at Parkview. Do you have the ability to practice those events on campus?
Yes and no. We do have a shot put ring over where the band field is, just to the east of the track. The javelin, we can throw a little bit over there, just kind of on technique work, but full run-up approach or even half approaches, we have our group go over to Parkview a couple times a week to get those in.
Because I know you were supposed to host a Missouri Valley Conference meet a few years ago and lost it over not having the on-site throwing capabilities. You're kind of landlocked there. Is there any possible solution for that?
Yeah, I mean, without getting too deep into it, I've presented a handful of options over the years that I think could work, and nothing's kind of really went far enough. And so I know several years ago the agreement was reached with Parkview to kind of partner with them, help fund that, where we could use it for practice and competition. And so I think that's probably as good as it's going to get.
So tell us about the meet coming up on Thursday. Really a break that you were able to reschedule a rained-out meet from earlier in the year with the dates kind of dwindling down.
Yeah, initially we were going to go to Arkansas on Friday, just kind of a last-chance meet. Normally this time of year we're either really tuning up with a specific individual or two in an event, or we're resting our athletes. And so our meet on Thursday isn't necessarily going to be a full force meet for us. We're going to have, quite a few entries, but some of our better athletes who this time of year just need a weekend off as opposed to competing are going to rest. Everybody else will compete, and then we'll be ready to go next week.
Yeah, when and where is the conference meet, and what's the outlook?
Yeah, we're at Southern Illinois next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Again, I don't know all the specifics, but kind of out of nowhere this year, the Missouri Valley decided to move our championship from a 3-day competition to a 2-day competition. And
wow,
when you start jamming events together that people are typically used to, doubling and tripling and being, entered in multiple events, it just really changes the meet entirely. And so we've had to adapt to that in terms of what our plan is and who can do more than one event, who can't. And so it's going to look a lot different than it has in the past. But I think we've got a good group going in. We're going to be as deep as we've been in a really long time. When we score it out on paper right now, we're somewhere in that kind of 4th, 5th, 6th kind of range right now, which, if you look back at all the rest of the indoor and outdoor meets that we've been to in the last several years, we've been much more in the 7, 8, 9, 10 range. And so it's going to be a breath of fresh air to be moved up where things get exciting and to really, battle for all those points down to the end.
How much so by the Valley electing to squeeze the tournament into 2 days, how much does then the math change for you where it becomes I don't want to say a guessing game, but if you've got athletes that could compete in multiple events, but the schedule's going to take possibly one of those events away, you're now having to kind of put the chess pieces on the board and find maybe where the most points you can get here is, and that may not be their best event, but they might place best in that event. That's got to be a very unique aspect coaching-wise.
Yeah, very unique. I know a lot of the coaches were not overly pleased with the decision. You've recruited a certain way over the last several years to really build a team a certain way, and for that to change, that's a lot to deal with in a year. And so I think we've got some good things set up. We've got some people who maybe made a final indoor in a specific event and outdoor. We think they can be better in a different event, especially if we can't double. And so we've made some of those changes already, and we're looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Did the coaches vote on that change?
No input.
I would say obviously not.
Wow.
That would be tough. How tough is it, too, to navigate this at this time of year? You're one of those sports that now you've got kids trying to graduate, get through finals at quite literally the high point of the season. How hard is that for the kids to juggle?
Yeah, we put a lot on them this time of year, and they step up to the challenge. This will be the first year that I can remember that we will actually be done with everything before we leave for the conference championship. Usually they take their final finals right before we get on the bus, or we actually come back to take finals from conference. This time they're done, they're graduated, and we have a whole week next week where we're just here tuning up, working on some things, and getting our minds right.
Well, Coach, good luck with the Thursday home meet and with the conference tournament. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach Jordan Fife from track and field has been our guest. Coming up next, baseball coach Joey Hawkins as MoState Update continues. Back with you on MoState Update. Pleased to be joined by baseball coach Joey Hawkins, whose team has been trending upward, really, Joey, since late March. 19-10, I think, during that stretch, hitting a lot of home runs, first place in the conference.
Yeah, I've been playing some good baseball, really since we got out of our non-conference weekend schedule and got into the league. And I think we've done it in a lot of different ways. We've hit the home runs, but we've had the ability to score runs in different ways. We've played great defense this year, and I think we're coming into our own just in terms of some roles in our bullpen and on our pitching staff.
The Illinois State series last weekend is an example. You win the first game 14-10. That's usually the low-scoring game. And then the next two games were 4-2 and 4-3.
Yeah, it was a really tough series. We went into that one knowing Illinois State's got a really good offense. They had some veteran pitchers. And just like I said, you have to have the ability to win in some different ways. And I really thought that Sunday game is going to go a long way for this team, just winning a tight one. Some high leverage spots, some pressure, and really our pitching staff picking us up.
Well, Tyler Charlton was outstanding in that game, and he's struggled a little bit of late, but boy, struck out 11 and did a great job on Sunday.
Yeah, no, we challenged him before that weekend that it was time to step up and give us a good one, or we were going to have to maybe look at things a little differently in terms of our rotation, and he responded to that challenge, and just a great effort for our team. Giving us a good start. There were some leverage spots in those first 5 innings that he worked through that I felt like kept our team in the game, and he's a guy we're going to need down the stretch to continue to throw the ball well.
Joey, are you the type of coach that is bashful about looking at the leaderboard, if you will, looking at the standings, or are you a guy that talks to the guys about it each week, about recognizing where you are and kind of the target that's on your back?
Yeah, I'm a pretty black and white head coach. Very direct and honest, and let's not kid ourselves. They have a phone and they can click on MVC standings in about 3 seconds. So you might as well get out front of it, address it, and just communicate how I think we should handle it mentally. And for us, it's just been knowing that we've earned the right to be in first place right now, use that as our advantage, but really just slow everything down and continue to take things one game at a time and be in the moment throughout those games.
You have a 1-game lead with 6 to go, and the last 3 are against Murray State, of course, the team that's trying to catch you. You got a 1-game lead now. It'd be nice to take a 2-game lead down to Murray next weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if you asked the team back in January, if May started and you were in first place, you'd take that every day of the week. So we're glad to be in that position, but got to control what we can control, which is just playing good baseball on Friday night and getting ourselves ready to play, a really important series.
You talked about the bullpen roles, and, that's so important. You're going to have to win 4 games in 4 days in the conference tournament to win the tournament. So you got like Curry Sutherland Tuesday night. He started for the first time in his career, 3 innings, gives up a bunt single and no runs. Now that's very encouraging for his possible role in the tournament.
Yeah, it's huge. I think college baseball is just a lot different from when I played. I think back then starting pitching was nearly everything. But now, the 5th inning on is pure chaos. It doesn't matter if you're in the SEC or you're in our league. So I think our ability to have Slater, Holmes, Max Knight stretched out is going to do a lot of wonders for us, not only in these next 2 series, but the conference tournament too. And then yesterday we were just seeing if we could have Curry take another step on the mound, and he definitely did that. And, with him and Dalen Stewart down there, that gives you, 2 different options from 2 different arm slots. And I like where our bullpen's heading.
I wanted to ask you about, you bring up the difference in pitching, and there was a time in the last couple of years looking at Major League Baseball, it was so specialized. You had your starters, then you had your middle relievers, your long relievers, your setup guy, your closer. You've almost got it to a point now where, based on your 3-man starting rotation, you've got 3 guys that can come in on any one of those days and quite possibly go to the end of the game, depending upon if you go 4 or 5 innings with the starter. Jackson Holmes was a starter. You converted him to the high leverage back end guy. Max Knight's thrown as many as 75 pitches this year, and now Owen Slater, even as a true freshman, just keeps proving to you guys with each opportunity that he's ready for more and more responsibility.
Yeah, I think, those guys and those guys being stretched out are a big reason we've won so many series this year. We've only lost 2 non-conference series where we got swept on the road at Mississippi State and swept at Wichita State, and then we stubbed our toe at UIC. But those guys position you really well to win a series, right? You get good starts. You don't have to use them for as long. You can bring them back again. And then if you do use one of them at length, you're going to have the other 2 available the next day. So it just gives us a lot of flexibility to, in my opinion, win series, finish off this league and win a championship, and then put us in a good position for the conference tournament.
And again, looking ahead in the tournament, somebody's got to win 4 games, but by the 4th day, everybody's going to be on fumes and pitching.
Yeah, I don't think there's a playbook or a blueprint that says if you do this, you win the tournament. I think you got to be, thinking on your feet. You got to get creative. You got to ask guys to empty the tank and, pitch on back-to-back and maybe back-to-back-to-back days. And, you got to bring starters back. So, that's ahead. We're looking forward to it for sure. But, our job's just getting ready for Friday and piecing a good game together on the mound defensively and then do our thing on offense.
Before we talk about the series this weekend with Indiana State, I want to ask you, how are you enjoying? So you're talking about, you were really starting to smile, kind of talking about the chess moves on the board and whether or not you start a guy on back-to-back days, on short rest, whatever. Your first year as a head coach now, how much are you enjoying that part of the game? Because I would think for some people it might drive you mad, those decisions on how leave a starting pitcher in for one more hitter, take him out one hitter early, all of that. How are you adjusting to the job, and how much do you enjoy kind of that mental side of the game?
No, I love it. I think that's kind of the art of baseball, whether you're in the big leagues or you're at our level. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's you got to press the right button at the right time, and sometimes you don't. And your team can feel it when you don't. But then you can also have the ability to propel a player or propel your team into a really good headspace. So I've learned a lot on the job this year. I've made my mistakes, but I think, I got a great staff around me, and we prepare at a really high level. We put a lot of work in to just evaluating who we're playing, evaluating our players and where they can have success. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. That's our job. Our job's to put players in a position to succeed and go out there and have some fun. And I think our staff and myself have found a good rhythm with that.
That's true on all levels. I remember being a little league coach and figuring out everybody's got to play. I have my best players in there at the end, but you got to kind of put them in a position where they have a chance to have success.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. The game moves fast, right? And you got to, like I said, you got to think on your feet. You got to be 1, 2, 3 headers ahead, an inning ahead. And I think at this point in the season, we just have a good pulse on, what our players do well and what our offense does well and what pitchers can stack up against certain offenses. So at the end of the day, like we've been telling our team, just slow your season down. Take it one day at a time. Don't be in a race to get to the conference tournament. That goes for me as the head coach too. I can't get ahead of myself. I need to just do a good job of getting our staff ready every day to coach these guys and, get our team ready to have a good practice today and tomorrow, and then you get ready for your next game.
What about specifically on the pitching side? I mean, obviously, you've played the game your whole life, but you've kind of specialized when your coaching career began as a hitting guy. Obviously, this team embodies that and does that extremely well. They've been running the bases better this year than I think they did last year, but now you've had to jump in with Deck, a guy that you've built a relationship with this year, to move the pieces around on the pitching side. Is that harder than maybe the other part of the game for you, or is it just something that you embrace and enjoy learning a new aspect of it?
Yeah, I'm definitely learning a lot. But I think you got to trust your assistants. You bring them in for a reason. Deck and Kyle Cliff, our director of pitching, have done a great job with them. But probably my favorite part of our whole staff is just we've done a great job this year adjusting when things just haven't worked well. And it's okay, right? We're not going to be perfect. We're going to bring up ideas or try things that just, they don't work for your team. And your job as a coach is to be able to sniff that out and get rid of it, honestly, when it's time to get rid of it and add new things. And that's something we've done. And I think that's why you've seen our bullpen be a lot better lately. I think that's why you've seen our offense take a step forward with base running and scoring runners from third with less than 2 outs. It's because we've pushed adjustments and we've pushed good baseball.
So Indiana State this weekend, you had a nice crowd last night, a little over 1,000. Of course, 3,500 for Mizzou. So hopefully some good weather, good crowds, and good results.
Yeah, look, I know there's been some words said just about like environment and atmosphere at some Missouri State sporting events over the last couple of years, but I'll say this. I think our atmosphere has been great this year. I think our administration has done an amazing job getting more people in the seats. I think there's definitely more room to grow in that area, but we're getting good support. We've had good weather. We've had good opponents. And, you know, there's no reason this weekend, 2 night games, some good weather on tap, and obviously us in first place. We should get, you know, some good energy in Hammond's Field, and it's really helped this team. And it's been fun to coach in those environments, too. So I think program-wide, we got a lot of good things happening for us.
Well, Joey, keep up the good work. Bring home a championship, and we appreciate your time today.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Coach Joey Hawkins will be back to wrap this up right after this. Well, the school year is winding down. It's finals week at Missouri State, but there are still some home sports events beginning Thursday with the MoState Twilight Track Meet, 11:30 in the morning at Parkview for the throwing events, and then the rest of the meet 4 o'clock at the Allison South Track.
Yeah, just a really great opportunity for these student athletes to get this event in. It was going to be the only home event they got to host this year, and when it was on the schedule earlier this spring, it got rained out, just an absolute monsoon that week. So nice that they were able to get it back in. It gives everybody a chance to get one of those PRs and prove a time right before that Missouri Valley Conference Outdoor Championship.
Baseball at home this weekend, the final home games of the season, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against Indiana State. It'll be 6:30 on Friday, 6:30 on Saturday, 1 o'clock Sunday, which is Senior Day and Mother's Day.
Be a lot of fun. I'm really interested to see, Art, how Indiana State looks now with Mitch Hanna's no longer at the helm. He was a highly respected head coach in the Valley, took the South Florida job. It's definitely better weather down there than Terre Haute. I can't say that I blame him.
No, not at all. But like Josh Schertz left their basketball, and now Mitch Hanna's leaves their baseball. And, yeah, it will be interesting to see. Their results have not been too favorable this year, so hopefully the Bears can get some wins and stay in first place in the Valley.
Yeah, I would definitely take a sweep of the Sycamores this weekend to secure that top spot heading into the final weekend of the regular season down in Murray, Kentucky, which very likely will be a battle of number 1 and number 2.
So that's our show for this week. Our thanks to coaches Joey Hawkins and Jordan Fife for being our guests. And thanks to you for joining us on MoState Update.
You've been listening to the MoState Update with Art Haynes and Corey Riggs. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Missouri State Sports Network.